The Chernobyl disaster was a cover-up of something terrifying. Final part in series. I guess you've probably already figured out that this all had something to do with the disaster 30 years ago. He explained as we moved through the facility. The first machine we used for the teleportation experiments, it wasn't powerful or reliable enough. We figured out that this whole thing wasn't as simple as it seemed. We weren't just teleporting one thing to a different place, we were transferring them between multiple parallel realities. But it was limited, we could only exchange two objects with equal mass between two identical places in two different realities. So, they built a new machine here, and used a nuclear reactor to power it, hoping that we could possibly move anything to any place between two given realities. We started exploring whole new universes, saw worlds where the Germans won World War II, worlds where we all destroyed each other, even worlds where life never evolved on Earth. But then, someone had this idea. If there are these parallel universes, what is between them? There was only one way to know. And that's when it went wrong, as I said. We should have been happy with what we had. But we always want more, right? We tried to access this conduit reality as they called it. But when they activated the machine, it stayed open. Something happened, and a portal was created, independent from our machine. It was sustaining itself. So, we sent a survey team in there. They came back after a few minutes, reporting all sorts of strange things. About how a strange feeling filled that place, how space and time themselves felt odd, even how some of them claimed to have seen themselves at different places at once. They wouldn't go back, even if threatened with all sorts of penalties. We sent a second survey team later. This one didn't come back at all. So we sent a third team to find them. They came back, but something wasn't right with them when they returned. Their minds were like, erased. I picture the blank stares of the creatures we fought on the way. Shortly after they returned, a massive burst of energy flowed out from the portal straight up, into the reactor. But that wasn't all. And you know all this because you took a sick day, right? I asked. I was at a different place in the facility when it happened. I'll never forget when they came to me, saying, that something came through, into our world. What was it? I asked. I don't know. Nobody knows. It wasn't unlike anything we've ever seen. And it killed almost everyone here. Not just killed, it did stuff to people. You've seen. We're here. We entered a control room, filled with computers and various controls and displays. Moroz closed another blast door and sealed us inside the control. We need to close the portal. We have tried it before, but these things wouldn't let us. So where are they now? As soon as I heard that you went inside the facility and came back, I knew something was off. This place used to be full of them. At least one is still here, the smell of ozone. But a few years ago, anyone who went in wouldn't get alive past level -1. But we've got this far, and I don't know why. That's what scares me. Something isn't right. I know that I am asking for a lot, but we need to go inside the portal and use this. He emptied his backpack and took out a crude-looking contraption with all sorts of wires, coils and other bits hanging from it. We need to place one end in the other reality and then return with the second end into ours. If it works, it might cause the portal to collapse. And how do you know that the same thing that happened to the third team won't happen to us too? I asked. That's the thing, I don't. But I'll tell you this, you know how they built that concrete shield over the reactor? They weren't trying to seal the reactor. They were trying to seal this place, to prevent whatever came into our world from getting out. And a few years ago, the thing we feared most happened. The shield started cracking. They were trying to get out. So, they built a new containment building recently, as you know. But for how long will this go on? Sooner or later, something will fail and they will get out. This might be our only chance to end this for good. How the hell did I get into this? I thought. I was just a random guy at the wrong place in the wrong time, but Moroz was talking as if the fate of our world depended on me. But maybe he was right. Whatever set of coincidences has brought us here brought me here. Maybe me and Moroz were the only people who could do what needed to be done. Alright, let's do it, I said. We put on a pair of what looked like modified space suits, left everything other than the device in the control room and entered the machine. We were in a dome-shaped chamber full with complicated machinery. In the center, there was a sphere of white light. Above it, a black, hollow shaft going straight up with cracks and debris around the opening. We tethered ourselves to a steel rail and Moroz walked forward, into the sphere and vanished. After some hesitation, I did the same. I found myself in a place that I can't describe. There was no up or down, and I could walk in any direction. It looked empty, yet I could see countless infinitely large shapes with billions of tiny shiny dots on the surface. Here. A voice called. I looked for Morose but I couldn't find him. "Where are you?" I called. "Come," he said and grabbed me by the arm, seemingly out of nowhere. I noticed hundreds or thousands of other white spheres in the distance around us. "Are those?" "Yes. Portals from other parallel realities. Are we going to close them all?" "No, just ours. The others are not our problem. They will have to find their own way to handle it." We walked towards one distinct shape. As with everything here, I struggled to describe it. It was like a fractal, the same shape repeating over and over and over again. "I think this is it," Morose said, and started doing something with the device. It beeped several times and then started making a high-pitched hum. "Oh no, this isn't good," he continued. "What's going on? Listen, I need you to take the other end and return. Once you're back, pull this switch and keep this button pressed until it activates. I have to stay here." I picked up my end of the machine and watched as a wire started unreeling between the two. "What about the key to the door out?" I asked. "There is no key." "What?" "But you said." "That wasn't the plan. This was always the plan." I couldn't risk. He didn't finish. I saw something in the corner of my eye. Movement. "Shoot. Don't look at it. Go now." "Run," Morose said. And I listened. I ran back, followed the line back into our portal, with my eyes almost closed. I went through, placed the device on the ground, flipped the switch and the device started producing a similar high-pitched noise. I pushed the button. For a second or two, nothing happened, and then, suddenly the device, or the portal, let out an ear-piercing whine, an intense flash and a wave of heat. And then, it was gone. Severed wires and tether line laid there on the ground, where the portal used to be. In the meantime, Alex woke up. He looked much better, and I told him what happened while he was out. We didn't know what to do now. We thought about going back, and trying to cut the chain on the door outside again, but after what happened last time, we doubted that it could work. We probably wouldn't even get there alive at all. But then, Alex had this idea. "What if we can use the machine to teleport out of here?" It took us several hours to figure out how the controls worked. It was heavily damaged and the reactor was obviously out of question, but the generators above supplied enough power for a simple translocation as they described it. All we needed to do is input a target vector. And then, the familiar clicking and smell of ozone came. A powerful slam shook the whole room and left a large dent in the steel door that connected the control room with the rest of the facility. "Crap, not again," I yelled. "I think I got it. They have some vectors written down here. We just need to add some height and we'll get above ground," Alex explained. "Make it fast," I said as the door shook in another slam. He did something and the controls lit up with alarms sounding. We ran to the core chamber and closed it behind us, just as we heard the control room door give way. We stood in the center and waited. Sparks and smoke filled the room as the machine did its thing. "Please work." I heard another slam and the door to the chamber broke off the wall and fell to the ground. I looked over and then, the time froze. I didn't feel fear, I felt at peace. I felt as if I was just a step away from understanding everything. I wanted to stay here, forever. A flash suddenly blinded me, and then I bumped my head into something. I opened my eyes and breathed in fresh air. We were laying upside down in a crater-like hole in the ground in a forest. We were out. We found our car after a few minutes. We saw several military helicopters fly in the opposite direction as we'd driven home. Alex checked in a hospital with a made-up story of an animal attack. He was okay in the end. We didn't talk about it again. It was over and I know that our world was safe from whatever stayed at the other side of the portal. But when I finally returned home that day, I noticed that something wasn't right. The old cherry tree that we used to play at when we were kids, it wasn't there. There was an apple tree instead. We've managed to transport an apple today. However, I couldn't help but notice that the pattern of red and green skin on top was slightly different. We were transferring them between multiple parallel realities. Portals from other parallel realities. Are we going to close them all? No, just ours. The others are not our problem. They will have to find their own way to handle it. I think I'm not in the reality that I lived in before. I think that when we teleported out, we ended up in a different one. I can't stop thinking about that the portal in this one might still be open. I think we aren't safe.